Lane's suicide, Joan's, prostitution. I haven't thought about that too. That I actually believe that whole storyline, of which has been documented, I think, quite a bit, how a very serious story problem was solved. And I always use it because people ask me how the writer's room works, and it's a great example, which is that I wanted Don to give this incredible pitch for Jaguar, and we had to build in the whole Jaguar pitch. The amount of work that went into the getting the right, but just Josh Weltman, Bob Levinson, getting the Vic Levin, who also had been in advertising, getting the sort of rudimentary stages of like actually showing the creative process, the way we did with the Relaxicizer, and we do a lot on the show. We don't want to make it boring, but you want to show all the roads that you go down that don't go anywhere, and the inundation that's required, and the amount of stuff that the prop department and set tech had to get to really make the agency look like they were on a charrette, which is the all-night, creative, like no sleep, whatever. And them getting the car or not getting the car was not the issue, but I knew that there was this pig that was at the Dealers Association, and no one has ever come up to me and said the car business is any different than the way we have portrayed it in the show. General Motors, nobody. No one's ever said, "Oh my God, I can't believe you did that." Everybody in the car business and in the advertising business has been like, "Yep, they were the kings of the roost," and no one knows if the franchisors are the ones controlling it, but all of the attitudes were right, and a lot of that was because Josh Weltman and Bob Levinson had both worked on car accounts, and it had not changed. Josh has given me one of my favorite lines, which was when Peggy was doing the weight loss thing, and I was like, I don't know what the strategy would be for a weight loss device, and he goes, "It's before and after pictures since the dawn of time." And I was like, there are certain things that you don't realize as an observer, but that's the way it is. It's just like, you go into a restaurant and the director 90% of the time will start on a tray with a waiter and take you through the thing. It's just like the way it's done. You could try and mix it up, but that's the way it's done. So having our fake campaign in place, I wanted Don to have this killer pitch that was really about, you have everything, what else do you want? How do you sell something to someone who has everything? Why do they want it? Because no one else has it? Or because they want to confirm the fact that they could have anything? Or because it's so beautiful that you want to really have it? And it became kind of a mystery advertising-wise for me, because it's not a good ad unless it's specifically that thing. Telling somebody rich that you can own anything is not a strategy. Why do I need to own that one? But anyway, this pitch, we realized if Joan slept with this guy and got this partnership, and the public nature of it, it was a fascinating episode to talk about in the room, forgetting about what it did for the, it was one of the most talked about things. We had a couple of water cooler moments. It was kind of the last season of the show too, where not everybody had the TiVo. So you really would the Zooby Zooby Zoo thing was like the song climbed the charts, it was like #1 in the world music chart, Jessica's version of the song. Things like that you really can't get on a TV show anymore now that people are watching it on their own time. Lane's suicide was a big surprise, obviously, and this Joan episode, Pete and Beth, was a big deal. The Beatles song, all these things sort of got a kind of press attention via the audience because of this massive blogging thing that had started to happen, and because the audience was still pretty much watching it within days of each other. But Don's pitch was ruined by the fact that Joan had slept with this guy, so why would you even listen to it? And I came in there and Semi explained Semi Chellis explained this flashback structure. Maria had Semi pitch it. Semi's not great at pitching. Maria is amazing at it. Let's put it that way. Semi is good at pitching, and Semi did end up running the room in season 7. And she's a great writer, but there was something about people pitching their own ideas. And Maria is such a great salesperson for me in terms of distilling things. It's very hard to hear an idea like that, believe it or not. You have to really sit there and not because it's not yours, but because it's complicated to describe, but not complicated to watch. And this whole idea of a flashback happening and Don trying to stop her and Don going in, and why Don wanted to win Jaguar and why he didn't want her to sleep with the guy. It wasn't just because he's so virtuous and he's the knight in shining armor. He wants to win it. He doesn't need any help. It's hard for people to understand that, but the man has a really big ego. So that was one of these things where when they told it to me, I was just like, that is amazing. Um, we've done flashbacks in the show before, but I had a long, and you can check the tapes on this, but a long argument with AMC, one of the biggest ones I ever had, about the finale of the first season, The Wheel. That when Don comes in and puts his hat on and asks for the family, and then you see him go and see the family, and then you come back and realize that it's all happened in his mind, right? There was a big argument from the network when they read the script that the audience would not understand this. And I was like, it doesn't work on the page because it's a flashback, but the hat will tell you you're in the same place. And so I put in as many of these gestures as I could, right down to the fact that Joan is taking off the necklace that Herb Rennet gave her when Don knocks on the door. So like all of the consistencies are there. And the audience gets this delightful aha, but it also allowed for you to really understand, and Tom Wilson cut that episode so beautifully, and Phil Abraham directed it. It's just like everything was hitting on all cylinders. Chris Manley did a great job with the cinematography. Actually, I think that Don Devine shot that because Chris was shooting a Lane Suicide episode. He might have been in prep. But all I can tell you is that it's one of those things where it was not the focus of the season. It was just one element of talking about what you will do for money. And it ended up being, to me, just hearing the conversation about it. I put the word prostitution in there. I had Joan say it's prostitution. And I think the Joan and Pete scene is like one of my favorite things we've ever done on the show. And I had pitched it the first day of the season, was Pete's coercion, Pete's sales pitch to Joan. It's kind of appealing in a way. Because also, don't forget, you're in a world with this, who knows if anyone ever watching this will remember, there was a movie called Indecent Proposal that was really big when I was like in college, I think, which was Robert Redford offers Demi Moore $1 million to sleep with him, and her husband, Woody Harrelson, says okay, and they do it. Now it's Robert Redford, not Herb Rennet. No offense to the actor. We deliberately didn't hire Robert Redford for that. But it's still, there is a sexual fantasy, and I reference all of them in the episode. Whether it's Helen of Troy being kidnapped. This is not a rape fantasy, but this is a fantasy about a woman being so desired that a man will go to war or spend a fortune to be with her. And it is prostitution. And once we brought it up, it sounded uglier, but prostitution is, I mean, talk about a theme in the show. It's definitely, you know, sex and work and as currency, that's something we deal with all the time.